Okay, so you've brought us some really interesting stuff this time. Scott Lawrence's ebook, The Slower You Start, the Faster You'll Win.
Mm.
It's all about, well, getting where you want in life, but without that feeling of being totally overwhelmed.
Yeah, exactly.
So today, our mission basically is to pull out the really key actionable ideas from this book, stuff that can genuinely help people make progress, sustainably.
That's the goal. And it helps to know where Lawrence is coming from. He's a clinical hypnotherapist, been doing it since 2010.
Right.
Lectures at the Academy of Hypnotic Science,
Hmm.
seen like over 4,000 clients. Plus, he's on national radio a lot.
Wow, okay. So these aren't just theories pulled out of thin air.
Not at all. It's
Right.
grounded in a lot of real-world experience helping actual people.
That makes sense. He's definitely seen people struggle. And the book really keys into that common feeling, doesn't it? That life just feels hard, stressful.
Hmm.
He asks those questions we all think sometimes, like, why isn't it just about managing stress, sugar, sleep, simple stuff?
Yeah, or when am I finally going to catch a break and actually get ahead?
Exactly. It's that frustration. We look for quick fixes, hacks, and they just don't always work.
And it's discouraging. So this deep dive is about exploring his angle, the principles he thinks can lead to peace of mind, and actually achieving your goals.
Okay, let's dive in. The first big one that jumped out at me was the title itself. The slower you go, the faster you'll win.
It's just kind of backward, right, in today's world.
It really does sound counterintuitive, but he has this explanation based on brain function. He got it from an ex-CIA agent, apparently.
Oh, interesting.
It's about the two hemispheres. The right side, he says, reacts instantly, like danger. That's its job.
Okay, the immediate reaction.
But the left hemisphere, that's the analytical part. It needs a beat. Needs time to actually process options, figure out solutions.
So slowing down, it gives the left brain a chance to step in,
Wow.
to think beyond just panic.
Precisely. So you're not just reacting to a threat, you're actually finding a way through it.
Yeah.
Strategic patience, you could call it. That makes sense. Your rational brain gets a turn.
Yeah. I mean, the right brain is crucial for real emergencies, for that gut instinct, absolutely.
Sure.
But for complex goals, life stuff, you need that conscious, thoughtful processing from the left side. Constantly reacting just keeps you spinning.
Yeah, less effective choices, probably. It makes me think of that analogy he uses, holding sand.
Oh, yeah,
The tighter you grip, the more it just slips out.
exactly. Trying to force it, rush it, it backfires.
Yeah,
It's less productive than a more, well, relaxed approach.
yeah. And the seed planting thing, too.
You don't date up every 5 minutes to see if it's growing faster.
Right. Things need time, space. He actually suggests people tend to overdo things now, push too hard.
Yeah, no time for incubation, just
Yeah.
constant doing.
Okay, so moving on. The next big idea, getting real about your true problem and your vision. It's not just surface level, like, I want more money, is it?
No, not at all. He argues the real issue isn't the lack of money or health or whatever. It's that we haven't defined a sustainable version of it.
Sustainable. What does he mean by that exactly?
Well, he talks about this underlying fear people have, that happiness won't last, that if they get it, it'll just end.
Oh, wow. So we might actually hold ourselves back because we're afraid of losing the good thing.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Subconsciously sabotaging it, maybe.
Yeah.
Because we anticipate the ending. His point is to learn to find joy now, except that things change. Endings mean new beginnings.
That's quite deep, actually. Embracing the present, accepting change.
Exactly. And finding that real vision. You got to cut out the noise, addictions, zoning out, even just sheer desperation can cloud things.
Right, the distractions.
And he brings it back to that core idea. Literally, the slower you go, the faster you'll get there. Stop, feel things,
Yeah.
slow down, give yourself space for clarity.
Makes sense. And then he has those 4 questions, like a self-diagnostic. To unpack invisible trauma, he calls it.
Yeah, they're powerful. Do you see how they treat you? That's one.
Okay.
Why am I back in the same problem again?
Oof. Yeah.
How long can you keep this up?
And finally, are you ready? Ready for what exactly?
Ready to change, I think. Ready to move on from the pattern. They really force you to look inward, confront those underlying things holding you back. Get honest.
Okay. So once you have that self-awareness, he introduces these big 3 steps for success. Let's unpack those. First is the what. Problem aware.
Right. But it's more than just saying, yep, got a problem. It's really understanding it.
How so?
He uses that famous dress example, the blue, black, or white gold thing.
Oh, yeah. That broke the internet for a bit.
It shows how perception is subjective, right?
Mm.
Influenced by surroundings. He connects that to feeling hopeless. Maybe it's not your life that's objectively terrible, but the lens you're seeing it through, your mindset, your environment.
So look at the context, not just the feeling itself. Diagnose the real issue.
Exactly. And he differentiates between fake problems like paranoia, thinking everyone else is doing great, and actual things you need to address. He says true problems usually boil down to money, health, or relationships.
The big three. Makes sense.
And to find your specific problem, he suggests this Jumpstarter journal exercise.
Okay, how does that work?
You define your goal clearly, then list all the obstacles.
Right.
Then, for each obstacle, brainstorm solutions.
Right.
The idea is, as you keep digging through obstacles and solutions layer by layer, the real fundamental problem eventually shows itself, like peeling an onion.
So you got to keep asking why or what's blocking that.
Okay.
Go deeper than just not enough time.
Exactly. What fears are involved, what past stuff is making it hard. Be specific, be honest, no vague stuff like everything's wrong or I don't know. You have to push.
Got it. So that's problem aware. What's step 2?
The one next, solution focused. Knowing the problem isn't enough. You have to shift your focus to fixing it.
Okay. Because you can get stuck just knowing the problem really well,
Right.
analyzing it forever.
Totally. He describes that state perfectly.
Yeah.
You know the issue inside out, but you feel stuck. Maybe you don't believe there is a solution. You don't think you have what it takes to implement it.
Yeah, that feeling of helplessness.
That's the key shift needed. Move from complaining, dwelling on it, to actively seeking and believing in solutions. He even says to ask yourself, can I get through this? Being solution-focused helps you answer yes.
And he points to his other ebooks here, right? As potential resources.
Yeah, the ones on marketing, therapy sessions, getting things done.
Yeah.
Depending on what your actual problem is, one of those might offer concrete steps toward becoming solution-focused. If it's career, maybe the marketing one helps.
Practical. Find the roadblock, then here are some tools. Okay, and the third step, wait, that sounds
Yo.
passive.
It's actually strategic. He says maturity always comes before strategy, meaning before you do something smart.
Don't do something stupid first. Yeah, I liked that line. Resist the knee-jerk reaction. Breathe.
Exactly. He uses this analogy, two guys racing to put bottles in crates.
Okay.
One guy frantically shoves them all in. The other focuses on the heavy ones first, plans it out. Even if it looks slower initially, he does the easier ones later, strategically waits.
So the planner wins by being smart about when to act.
Right. Thinking long term. He points out how often we defeat ourselves.
Mhm.
We want instant gratification, get distracted, quit too soon.
Yeah, happens all the time.
So the wait is partly about building resilience, tolerating uncertainty without freaking out.
Being okay with not knowing everything right now.
Yeah, being able to sleep without having to know the answer to everything today. He suggests dividing tasks, what must be done today and what can't be done today. Do today's work, then actually rest or play.
Well-
Don't sabotage yourself by worrying about tomorrow.
That's huge. Give yourself permission to switch off.
And he warns about saying, yeah, but, all the time when solutions are offered. That resistance.
Oh, yeah, the classic sign you don't really want to change.
Mm-hmm. And he lists those 4 mistakes. Active goal confusion.
Not knowing what you want.
Being a strategy monk.
All planning, no action.
Choosing to stay stuck.
Resisting change.
And deflecting work, avoiding it. Familiar traps.
Very familiar. Which leads nicely into the next point about feelings. Fix your feelings first.
Crucial. He says critical thinking is basically impossible when your emotions are running high. Like your mind's having a tantrum.
Huh. Yeah, trying to make big decisions when you're angry or upset. Usually not a great idea.
Right. So before strategy, before action, get your emotional state sorted so you can actually think clearly.
Makes sense. How does he suggest doing that?
Well, partly by cutting out distractions, like we mentioned, to get clear on what you want,
Mm.
but also understanding that our minds are sensory. If you keep replaying negative stuff, feeling negative stuff,
Yeah, you attract more negative stuff.
that's the idea. You're creating that internal environment. He tells that story about the deaf kid climbing the greased pole.
Oh, I remember that. It was really powerful.
Yeah, because he couldn't hear everyone shouting, "You'll never make it."
Mhm.
He just kept climbing, focused, and he did it.
Shows the power of blocking out negativity, tuning it out.
Exactly. Avoid that success poison, he calls it. Negative voices, internal or external. Build belief in yourself, in your actions. He also gets a bit philosophical, saying, we're all lost together, in a way. Finding meaning is a personal journey.
An adventure.
Yeah. And life is hard sometimes. Loss, sickness, tough stuff happens. But life goes on. Keep going, even with breaks. It's about resilience.
Definitely. Okay, so the last key insight we pulled out was about self-awareness and focusing on obstacles, not just the huge problem.
Right. Being honest with yourself, recognizing your blind spots.
He has that test, doesn't he? About feedback,
Yeah. Do you immediately feel the need to correct someone after they give you feedback?
if you do.
It probably means you hit a blind spot. A healthy response is just accepting it as their perspective. Getting triggered suggests there's something there you're not seeing.
Interesting self-check. He mentions the Johari window, too, briefly.
That model of self-awareness, what
Yeah.
what others know, secrets, the unknown. Point is, critical thinking takes conscious effort. Avoiding self-sabotage, staying clear on goals, strategy, action.
And he clarifies the difference between the overall problem
The big source of pain,
and the obstacle.
which is just the next small thing you need to overcome. It breaks it down, makes it manageable.
So the process is pain, problem, goal, strategy, obstacle, action, repeat.
Exactly. It's iterative.
Yeah.
Keep tackling the next obstacle, and crucially, know when to do nothing.
Yes, that was important. When not to push through.
When you're in deep pain, grieving, too close emotionally, about to lose it, take a break. Pushing then just makes things worse, destroys progress.
Rest isn't lazy, it's part of performing well.
Absolutely. Self-care is key.
Mm.
He also warns against co-rumination.
Just complaining together without looking for solutions.
Yeah. And that negative energy of wishing others weren't doing well, instead, ask for help. That's problem-aware and solution-focused.
Good point. And finally, minimal viable effort, MBE.
Yeah. The smallest bit of work that still counts as progress. Chunking tasks down, maybe stacking MVEs in 4-hour blocks.
It's about just starting, doing something consistently.
That cumulative effect, small steps every day, add up massively over time. It's powerful.
So powerful. Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive on the slower you start, the faster you'll win. What are the main takeaways for you?
For me, it's definitely that core idea of slowing down to get clear, understanding the real problem, not just the symptoms, and giving your brain space to find actual solutions. That whole problem-aware, solution-focused, the weight structure feels very usable.
Yeah, I agree. And the focus on managing your emotions first, fixing your feelings, plus that self-awareness piece, they feel foundational, you know?
Yeah.
Without those, the strategies might not stick.
Definitely. The main message really is that being thoughtful, strategic,
Yeah.
even if it feels slower at the start, gets you there faster and more sustainably in the long run.
So a final thought for everyone listening.
Hmm.
Maybe reflect on those 4 key mistakes. Which one feels most relevant to you right now? And maybe, what's one tiny, minimal, viable effort you could actually commit to today, just to start building that momentum?
Good questions. And maybe check out those other ebooks he mentions, if one seems relevant to your specific challenge. Marketing, therapy, productivity could be a good next step.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for digging into this with us. Lots to think about.